Bob and Weave, Bob and Weave. Everybody's bobbing with Rob and Steve. What's up, bro?
Hey, Steve.
I think that was the Batman,
I
uh,
think it might have been.
but that just sort of came to the dome, like right off top. Uh, wasn't
We're
sure
gonna
how
get
it
a
was going to sound.
we're gonna have a great jingle one of these days, but I don't think it's good.
Dude, if we ever like hire a band to make our intro, can it be like an '80s cover band, like the Dan Band type style? Would that
There
be
was
up your alley too?
there's this what was the name? This band that this my old company used to hire for all of our events. They called themselves like the Nerds or something, and they dressed up like dorks and had like tape on their glasses, and they always did like '80s covers. So it was always a good time. And they crushed every time, but they just looked ridiculous on stage.
That's what it's about, man. Love it. Yeah, I love that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't always listen to it in my downtime, but when it comes to live bands, those cover bands are always great. You always know all the music.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'll have to figure out what their name was because they had a funny name too. I'll figure it out.
And you know the Dan band, right? From like Wedding Singer
Oh,
and
is that I figured that's who it was. I didn't know their name was the Dan Band.
yeah. What's the song that they sing in the Wedding Singer? Um, it's not Scotty Doesn't Know, or what? Are they also? Do they also do that Scotty Doesn't Know song? I don't know. My memory's failing me.
And I
You've got
need
quite
you
a big
more
delay,
than
brother.
ever.
Are you hearing okay?
I can hear you okay, but
Yeah,
I also
yeah. I
hear
fucking need you more. Yeah.
I hear the 3 second delay in between when I'm done talking and you talk.
Oh, weird. Okay. Well, hopefully it comes out clean. If not, our listeners are just gonna, aka your mom, are just gonna have to deal with it.
Yeah. Sorry, Mom. It'll probably be
Sorry, Miss
fine.
T.
It'll probably be fine on the Spotify, but on the YouTube it might not be so good.
Hey, I wanted to share something with you. Speaking of recording quality, I'm listening to Chris Williams' podcast quite a bit lately. He's been interesting, and he's got an episode that just came out that's it doesn't have a guest. It's just sort of him answering questions that people have written in over the last several months or whatever. I guess he does these every once in a while, but he was saying that if you start a podcast with the intent of winning, like getting to that level of, like Joe Rogan level or whatever, um, you've already lost. If that's like your intent from when you start, you've already lost. And he said that all other, like, successful podcast hosts that he's talked to, including himself, the thing that they all have in common is that they just enjoy hopping on the pod and recording and asking questions to people, and they just enjoy the process, and that's all they really cared about when they started. And their quality got better, sure, but so I think we're on the right path, dude. That we're just doing this for fun, bro, and like if other people want to get on board, cool, and if not, it's still enriching.
Yeah, so that happens to me a lot of times when I tell people, "Hey, yeah, me and my buddy are doing a podcast." I'm like, "Oh, where is it?" It's like it's out there. Don't worry about it. We're just kind of doing it for fun. Like, get on there for an hour and have a good time.
Yeah, 100%. I've done the same. We maybe could like post a link or something in our bios or something for people who want to like go that deep, um but yeah, honestly, it's rewarding just to hang out, and if that's all it ever is, whatever.
So it'll be a chronologue for us.
Yeah, chronologue. I like that word.
Yeah. All
Well,
right. So we got a few things to talk about. You want to start not so serious?
Yeah.
All right. So I got a trip coming up to the Grand Canyon, and this is like a bucket list trip because I've never been to the Grand Canyon. The closest is when I drove from Indiana to California. I stopped in Flagstaff for a night, and that's like an hour and a half or 2 hours away from the Grand Canyon. And so now we're planning a trip in October, and I'm kind of like, okay, we're gonna see the Grand Canyon. I have no idea what else is going on out there, and there's like 10 different trails you can go on, a million places to stay, and I don't know anything about it. So have you been to the Grand Canyon? And if you have, what are the
Yep.
recommendations for where to go or what to do, where to hike, that stuff?
For sure, man. Yeah, I've been a couple times on camping trips, so I got to ask, what's kind of your brow level of your trip? Are you guys wanting to hotel it, or are you wanting to like camp?
So we are hoteling it. That's the one thing we decided. We're going to stay in Flagstaff for 2 nights and then stay at a hotel very close to the Grand Canyon for 3 nights.
Okay, so you've got 5 total nights, and you're looking to do like day hikes. You don't want to do that like 2 day hike down into the canyon where you're like staying at the various base camps, right? You want to like day hike and go back to the hotel.
Right. Exactly. Yes.
If you're staying in Flagstaff, I'm pretty sure Sedona is close to Flagstaff, and Sedona is like, other than the obviously the Grand Canyon is like the most ridiculous sight that we have in the whole country, right? Um, but Sedona is, let's see, yeah, it's 48 minutes from Flagstaff. So I would recommend spending at least one day in Sedona because that'll blow your mind. And girls love that. Girls love that town too because there's a lot of like, I don't know, energy yoga type vibes going on there because there's all these areas there with the vortex energy stuff, that's got healing powers, and so you can go on some hikes and down there that are really unique. Um, but yeah, I definitely recommend driving down there for one day from Flag, and then the hotel situation I'm not too sure about like regular hotels, but I know that the Grand Canyon, I think it's called the Grand Canyon Lodge. There's a hotel right there on the south rim, and
We're gonna be pretty close to it.
you know
There's like 10 hotels right there. We're in one of them. It's
okay.
not that one, but the next most expensive one.
Oh, okay, got it. So you're right there by the entrance. Well, I mean, you can't go wrong with like hopping on the bus and going to all the spots on the south rim and checking them out. I mean, you could do that for one full day at least, um, and then I would just kind of look up day hikes because I'm sure there's ones where you can hike down and come back up. And then I've never done this, but I've heard like massively raving reviews that people love going on that not only the helicopter tours but also the day whitewater rafting trips.
Oh, okay.
Um, so I've never been that low in the canyon. I've only been up top, but apparently from down below, it's like a whole different perspective that you don't get from the top either. And if you're there 3 days, it would probably be cool to get both perspectives if you can. Um,
Yeah.
I'm not sure how
So
you get down to it.
if you do the whitewater rafting, do you like take a bus down to the middle? Like, how do you get there? Down to the river?
That's a good question. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. You might have to hike down. There might be a road where they take you in a bus or something that's not a public road. Um, that's a great question. I doubt they make you carry the raft down there and back
Yeah.
up.
I've seen like donkey trips. So people will, like, instead of doing the hike, they'll ride a donkey up and down the rim. I, I don't
I've
know.
heard that
Why
that's
is that
equally
popular?
tiring. Yeah.
Why?
Most of those donkeys are like the donkeys are usually for when you're doing that like 3 day trip where you hike down and you hike around and hike back up and you stay at the various base camps. Usually the donkeys are for carrying all your gear, like your water, your food, your backpack and stuff, because it's a pretty tough trip. So not having to carry your gear is huge.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense.
But that
So,
that costs more money. You can still just take a backpack. I mean, you're pretty able-bodied, so you probably wouldn't need it.
yeah, well, the tip on Sedona, like, I did not think Sedona was very close, nor did I think it was very cool. So I'm surprised that that's what you said. Let me even see, where the heck did that go? So, yeah. Is it? But it's just like a desert, right?
Pretty much. Yeah. Yeah. In October though, yeah, it'll be pretty deserty in October. I think it gets a little green in the springtime with the spring rains, but October, I was there in October and it was chilly already. It gets cold.
Yeah, I'm kind of expecting it to be a little cold, but I mean, we did some research and they said October was the best time to visit. I think it's mostly so you can see some stars and there's more clear skies. Uh, it's be better for that time and then not blazing hot like it is in the summer.
Yeah.
Sedona.
Yeah.
So
And
how far is Sedona from Flagstaff
it says 48 minutes on Google Maps.
then? Oh, that's not too bad.
And yeah, and it's totally worth it. It's one road. I've made that drive a couple times. Um, I've gone like on trips where I go from Phoenix up to Sedona, stay a couple nights, go up to Flagstaff, stay a night, and go up to the Grand Canyon, and then just drive straight back down at the end of the trip. And yeah, Sedona has a ton of hotels, tons of hikes, tons of off roading. Take that new Ionic 5 on an easy trail on the dirt. Um, there's a really cool, super easy hike um, to a spot called Submarine Rock. And it's technically an off-roading trail, but the parking lot, like for staging before you go on the off-roading trail, is at Submarine Rock. So it's like a quarter mile to get to the base of Submarine Rock, and you can just walk right up to it. But it is
We're
kind of
planning
a
on
hike
flying.
because you're just
Yeah, we're planning on
to
flying and
flag.
renting a car when we get there. Just because I think the closest airport was like Phoenix, and that was like a 2 hour drive. So it's like it seemed kind of stupid
Mm-hmm.
to fly for an hour to drive for 2 hours. So it's just pay another $100 and get to the place we're gonna be.
So you're flying into flag.
Yeah.
Got it.
So
Cool.
so far. Well, the only thing
Cool.
that's kind of a bummer is that means we're not bringing any dogs.
Oh, yeah. I mean, honestly, dude, you might have a lot more fun with the dogs with you too, and
Yeah, that's what I was
because it's
thinking.
pretty dog friendly.
Yeah, but I can't. I
I
mean,
drove
so
there.
it's like an 8 hour drive from Orange County. That's
Worth it.
a,
I think it's
a
worth it.
full day. It's an 8 hour drive or like a $300 plane ticket. Like,
Yeah, yeah. I always drove. I was on one trip I was in Phoenix, so that made sense to drive. But the other trip I was in San Diego, but I still drove because I was bringing my off road vehicle to do a lot of off roading and camping, and the drive's not bad. It's pretty straight and you're just on the 10 the whole way and it's pretty easy. Um, and if you want to bring your dog, you might have trouble with hotels actually. I always camped. You might have trouble with hotels but I'm sure there's a dog friendly one and your dog's not a big dog. So,
yeah. Okay. I'll check it out.
but yeah, man, the South Rim is awesome. For other people who are listening to this, there's also the Havasu Pie Falls. That's a big hike, kind of west of the South Rim. Um, it's on a reservation, so it's run by Native Americans. But you can hike up to this waterfall through like a wash. So you're basically hiking through 1 foot deep water the whole way, um, all flat, and it's supposed to be extremely beautiful. And then if you're going in the summer, the South Rim's super hot, but you can go. It's another 8 hours, but you can go around the Grand Canyon and see the North Rim, and there's way fewer people there. You'd be one of like 400 people if you go at any given time, maybe, on the North Rim, and better stars even, and more camping, secluded camping and stuff like that, and just a different experience for people who want like that solo Grand Canyon experience,
Yeah, I saw that
more
some videos
reclusive.
of that Havasu waterfall hike. It looked pretty cool, but it seemed like you would do a trip just to do that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. I think it's like 2 hours from the South Rim national park stuff.
Really?
Because you got to kind of go west and then north and then west and then north again, like on country roads. It's not like a highway.
Right. All right. Well, we will continue to plan, and in 6 months or so, I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah, man, that sounds like an awesome trip. I can't wait to see pics and hear about it.
Yeah, hope so. Hopefully Nova will get to come.
Yeah, yeah, she'll enjoy that. Well, yeah, cool, man. Well, what other before we jump into the preschool and the spreadsheet topic? What other things was there anything else we wanted to cover?
Nothing on the list right now. We could always pull from the hat of topics we have if you want to go through those.
Well, I know you didn't get the chance to watch it yesterday, but honestly, I can't stop thinking about this roast of Tom Brady yesterday. Can I tell you a little bit about it?
I saw some stuff like on social media, and I
Yeah.
think it was somebody on Barstool said that Tom Brady walked out, but one of my friends was actually there, and I asked her if he walked out, and she said no. So like okay, it wasn't as scandalous as it was portrayed to be, but it sounded pretty funny.
Yeah, I was actually pretty impressed. It was a lot. It was live, no commercials, 3 hours straight. So they like never really cut away from the stage. So you kind of got to like see everything like you were there.
That's cool.
And and I was kind of wondering if that was going to be what it was like, or if they were going to take like TV timeouts, or whatever. But dude, there was some stuff that's like, if it wasn't live, it probably would have gotten cut. Like. There's some stuff there were some R words, like some Nazi
Really?
jokes. I mean, it
Oh
was like
gosh.
every topic got touched. Oh man, dude, it was
I'm surprised they did
it
that
was
with like
hilarious.
live
And
comedians because
uh,
comedians are always like pushing the envelope and saying things you're not supposed to. Netflix just kind of let them go, huh?
yeah. I mean, I'm sure they reviewed the jokes in advance, but I think people were making shit up as they went. Like Gronkowski kept saying some ridiculous stuff, and he was like, "Yeah, this wasn't on my joke list. This just came to me right now." It's like, what? Gronkowski taking comedic risks live
Yeah,
on live television,
that's
recorded
funny.
forever. Um, but Nikki Glazer crushed it. Tony Hinchcliffe, who I wasn't expecting to, they did a big Kill Tony spot for him, and he was my favorite one. He was my favorite roaster by far. Um, oh my gosh, he just had some bangers, dude. Some stuff that, again, I don't think it would have cut it on TV. It would have been removed.
All right, I'll have to go watch the highlights.
Yeah, you got to check it out. Kim Kardashian got booed off the stage, dude. I mean, it
Nice.
wasn't as bad as it sounds, but like she was just getting booed, man.
Why was she even there? What
I
is her
don't know.
connection to Tom Brady?
I I don't know. Yeah, he didn't play in the NBA, so I don't know. And he's not a rapper. But yeah, she her set was short, but she had a couple one-liners that were okay. Gronk was good, dude. Gronk was really good. Julian
Yeah,
Edelman, you know him, right?
yeah, yeah.
His goofy ass. He stepped out on a limb on a couple jokes too.
All right, I'll have to watch. I've seen some interviews with Julian Edelman. He seems pretty funny.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from them being like cheaters and all.
They joked about that a lot. Yeah,
I'm
there
sure.
was. So I didn't see Tom Brady walk off, but there was a joke that this has been all over social media already, so I'm sure I'm not spoil alerting, but somebody was mentioning that Tom Brady walked in and got like offered Robert Kraft a massage, and and Tom gets up out of his seat and goes up to, I forget who it was saying that, but he walked up and whispered in his ear, "Don't say that shit again." But the mic caught it so loud, so you just hear Tom Brady, "Don't say that shit again."
Yeah, that's funny. I mean, I mean, my skewed perception of Tom Brady makes me think like, oh, he's such a jerk. Like, why would he do that? Like, why are you getting roasted and then telling people not to joke about stuff? Like,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure it was done in jest, and it seemed like people were having a good time. So I think it was okay.
yeah. This it was mentioned a few times. It's been a few years since there's a roast because everybody gets so offended at everything. But and they made sure to touch on every sensitive topic, every single one, dude. And I think it went great. And the last great roast was Justin Bieber, and that was like 12 years ago, I think. So
Oh wow.
it's it's been high time. I mean, there's been a couple since then. I think they did a Bruce Willis and a Rob Lowe, and those were okay. But Bieber was
Um,
fantastic. That one was great.
Pete Davidson had a good one.
Oh yeah,
I feel like that wasn't that
yeah,
long
yeah.
ago.
I think that was Rob Lowe, where Pete, Jimmy Carr was like, "This is the I don't know." He's Jimmy Carr was like, "I don't know why everybody's picking on Pete Davidson's dad. This is the roast of Rob Lowe. The roast of Pete Davidson's dad was on 9/11."
Oh my god, that's
That was
awful.
a good one. That was a good one.
Jeez.
But yeah, I'm gonna go back and watch some of these older roasts just because I miss that, dude. It's just like you're laughing for like 2 hours straight. Just every 10 seconds is a new joke that you're laughing at. It's not like stand up, dude. It's just
What do you think
constant
that
laughs, no
it?
setup.
Would you sign up for the roast of Stephen Pendle?
I actually have done one before. We
Oh really?
in our fraternity we would do what was called the senior roast every semester. So whoever was graduating, seniors or fifth years or whatever, would sit up in the front, and anybody in the crowd could take turns roasting them. and, so yeah, I got picked on for being an IU guy, quite a bit. That was at Purdue, so
Yeah, obviously too
that was
easy.
the yeah. So yeah, everybody got roasted if they wanted to. You didn't have to participate, obviously, but I love getting made fun of. So
Yeah, I don't know if I could like publicly shaming everything I've done. I'm
I
sure
get
I'd
that.
laugh, but then I'd like at the next week it'd be like, what did I just do? Like,
Yeah, I mean the dirt's out there, so it's kind
yeah,
of like, would you rather it be out there and unbespoke? I don't know if that's the word, but or would you rather go ahead and acknowledge it and laugh about it all together and just kind of rip that band-aid off and
yeah.
you know
I guess it would be a little bit of therapy that comes with it.
exactly. Yeah.
All right.
Did
Okay.
you
So
know that Brady lost $30 million on the Sam Bankman-Fried crypto scam?
no, that's hilarious.
Yeah, yeah,
So he invested
um,
in fraudulent crypto.
yeah, and endorsed it. I looked it up after because I hadn't heard about that, but he actually even like endorsed it, and so a lot of people were like, "Oh, Tom Brady endorsed it. It must be legit. He did his due diligence and did 30 mil," and
He did
so
not.
he
Yeah.
took a lot of flack for that.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah. Okay. The last joke I'll share. Actually, I don't even want to ruin it. I don't even want to ruin it. I want you to see it when they talk about that. Nikki Glazer just rails on him for that and brings Gronk into it. It's the
All right.
best. One of the best jokes of the night.
I'll watch Nikki Glazer on Tom Brady.
Yeah. Yeah. Nikki Glazer, Tony Hinchcliffe. They were my two favorite, but I mean there were quite a few that killed. All right, man. Well, let's come back to business here. I've
Down to brass tacks.
Yeah, one of our topics for a while that we've been had on the hopper here has been your side venture. You have a spreadsheet, in that you've developed for the mortgage industry. Maybe you could even just share a little bit about that, and like your experience with putting that together and turning that into a business, and then maybe we can, after that, kind of jump into like getting your feedback and your advisement on applying some lessons learned to the preschool industry problem that I need to solve.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll start with a heavy disclaimer that I am by far uh, not a professional in tech. And so I wouldn't say that I know exactly how to start a technology company or how to sell it or how to build it from the ground up. But I do have one that I've built, and I'll tell you what I've kind of learned from it and things I would change maybe before going forward this way, and what what people around me have told me about, how to get it really, really going. And so the calculator that I built is an affordability calculator, and you can go online and you can find mortgage affordability calculators all over the place. But if you talk to any mortgage professional, they're just not any good. They make you put in your own rate, and so you don't know what rate you're really going with. They don't properly calculate taxes or homeowners insurance or mortgage insurance or HOA payments. They don't account for how many liabilities you have in your credit report. And so it doesn't have nearly enough information to tell you truly what you can afford. And then even if it did collect all of those things, it's only calculating conventional programs for the exact down payment amount that you put, doesn't estimate closing costs either. So your cash to close could be wildly different. And so what I did is I built a calculator that says, okay, I have this much cash, I have this much income, I have this much in monthly liabilities. How much can I qualify for with, the most popular programs that are out there? So conventional, FHA, VA, jumbo, and a few down payment assistance programs. And so that's what the calculator does. It's an affordability tool that does all the stuff. It does it very accurately. The only thing it can't do specifically is tell you your interest rate, because you have to have your credit ran and go through a whole pricing engine. So we'd have to link to a different computer system to do that. And it's just not economically or logistically feasible to do so. But that's what's going on. So that's the company that I built. I would say the most difficult thing about, building a technology company is getting your sales. I think people are so afraid to be your first customer, because they think it's going to, not work out, even if the price is extremely low, even if you made it free. I had people that wouldn't sign up for my thing because I asked for an email address. And they said, it's not really free if you're asking for an email address. I'm not doing it. What are you going to spam me with? And I thought that was just so ridiculous. I was like, I'm offering a very valuable tool. All I need is your email address, and you're complaining that you might get a few more emails. Like, and it's just kind of wild. It's so that I would say that the most difficult thing is not building the technology. It's convincing people that your technology is worth whatever risk they have to do to sign up for it. If that's, a monetary amount or just creating an account, spending time to figure out how to use the tool. That's the biggest hurdle, rather than creating the technology that works. It's convincing people that this technology will help them and is worth whatever time or money they have to put into it. And that's definitely been my biggest struggle with it, especially because, when I first made it so I could monetize this thing, it was when everybody's quitting the mortgage industry. Like we talked about, I think on the last pod, that 60% of people who had their license no longer have their license. And so no one's looking to add more technologies right now. No one's looking for the next, the new subscription they need to sign up for. Everybody's trying to figure out, okay, what can I cut right now? I'm going to be firing people. I don't have $5 a month to give to you if that's what it costs. So I would say that's the number one thing is not so much focusing on how do I make this technology perfect and work for exactly how I need it, is how do I convince people that it's worth X? And I think, when I try and compare my little tiny company to stuff that's going on in Silicon Valley, that's exactly what they're doing. They're not talking about, okay, I'm going to make this much in Q1 and this much in Q2, and I can sell it for this, and our projections are this. They're going to say, I think this will be worth blank when it's all built out and works the way I think it's going to work. And that number is completely made up. The more made up numbers you can use to support that number, the more people will value your company. But it's all just, I think it will be worth this. And I think that's the thing to focus on when you're building these new technologies, is not like, all right, I get that this is very useful, this is going to help me, but how is it so useful that someone would sign up for it even if they didn't know everything about it? And so it's more about the idea than the actual technology itself. But of course, you can't do a SAM SBF and just say it's a great idea and then never do anything with it.
Right.
So talk about your idea now and what you've got going on, and I'll see if I can I know I didn't cover everything that I've learned, and so maybe I'll sprinkle in some more stuff that I've figured out along the way.
Absolutely. So, So we obviously have a software that we use for our preschool, right? That helps us manage everything, our enrollment, scheduling the teachers, and then they can go check their schedule on the app. Um, Keeping records of all the kids, right? What their allergies are, and their parents' names, and we communicate with the parents through the app, and you bill parents through the app, and then the company who runs the app, they basically once a week pay you out from whoever's billed in their app, and they just take 1/4% of it all, and in exchange for handling the billing for us, and then we also pay $200 a month for the service in general. So that people who don't bill through the app, they just require cash or checks. They still, at least the company still at least gets $200 a month from each preschool. So there are about 4 softwares that do this for preschools, and I've looked at all 4 of them, and we've used now 2 of them. We switched from one to another one that was more even more user friendly. But none of them, all 4 of them, none of them have a flexible way to schedule teachers according to classroom head counts of students. So what that means is, every municipality does it a little bit differently, but in general, there's a maximum ratio you can have of students to teachers. And some places like California, they just say, hey, if you're X age to X age, max 6 students per teacher. And if it's, Y age to Z age, it's max 12 students per teacher. But in Idaho, what they do is they assign point values to each age group. And then they say that each teacher has a maximum of 12 points that he or she, usually she, can have in her classroom. So, infants are 2 points each. So that means a teacher can have a maximum of 6 infants, or 12 points. But, 6-year-olds, for example, are half a point. So that means 24 kids could be in a classroom with one teacher. But, the challenge is, what if you have, like in a pre-K classroom, you have one kid who's a 3-year-old because they're super smart and they're ahead of the threes class, so they're in the pre-K, but they're 1.5 points. And then you have several 4-year-olds that are 1 point, and then you also have a couple of 5-year-olds that are half a point. Right? None of those softwares can assign a point value to each kid. And then you drag and drop those kids into, classroom, pre-K classroom, and then it adds it up for you that, okay, there's 11.5 points in this classroom, so you can't put any more kids in there, right? So when the director is scheduling, she does it all on paper. It takes a lot of time. It takes her about 2 hours. Anytime we have a change in enrollment, she needs to update the weekly schedule of what kids are in what classroom. And she has to manually calculate, how much each kid is worth, and make sure she's allocating correctly in the classrooms, and therefore scheduling teachers accordingly. So what's happening is, every once in a while we have a teacher scheduled when we didn't need to. And, that's like, I don't know, $150 mistake, right? And at this point in time, I don't really mind when those things happen, because we're gearing up, we're upping our enrollment. So having the appearance of having too many teachers is a good thing. But when we get fully enrolled and we have all our spaces filled and we're only waitlisting, which we're like 3 weeks away from being at that point, we need to have a weekly schedule that is as efficient as possible, because we're going to be maxing out teachers and our payroll costs are going to be basically doubled from 2 months ago. So my director, I need her to be spending time on running things efficiently, ordering all the materials and supplies we need, dealing with HR, stuff, and handling issues that come up. But instead, she's spending, 3 hours a week of her 30-hour work week, like 10 to 15% of her time goes to just scheduling these classrooms, and we still have these mistakes because there's user, it's manual. So what I'm thinking of doing is paying somebody on Fiverr or my brother or somebody who's really good with Excel spreadsheets or Google Sheets to create a spreadsheet that is like can't be corrupted, right, by the user, and can be reused like a template to continue to perfect or make it as efficient as possible our room scheduling and therefore staff scheduling, and so that we can use it. It's worth it to me to spend $300-400 to create something like that to prevent all of these $100 to $150 mistakes that are happening almost weekly. They're not mistakes, but just consequence, right? The natural consequence of manual labor. So anyway, we're looking at the idea of that, doing it for ourselves, but therein lies an opportunity that we now have a tool that's valuable, that costs a little bit of money to make, but could we sell that to neighboring preschools? Could we make it a subscription service? Hey, $5, like you said, $5 a month. It's totally worth it to anybody. Kind of like Price Labs for Airbnbs, right? It's only $20 a month, and it makes us an extra $200 every month. No brainer, right? So I just think that that's a whole separate business. Maybe we could just sort of get a little bit more bang for our buck in a shorter period of time if we approach those 4 software systems and said, hey, we have this. It's an API. I don't know exactly what I'm talking about here, but maybe we design it to be an API that integrates with their system and looks like their system, but it's sourced from a Google Sheet that we created and have proprietary rights to. So all that said, my question for you that I'd love to draw from your experience is, if we can get that created, and then I also have a mechanism for making necessary updates regularly. What was the patent process like, and costs of that, and walk me through what you think the viability of that is, like cost versus benefit analysis on trying to make that a second income stream.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm envisioning you starting to do this as a very simple Google Sheet, and something like you put the name of the kid and their age, and it populates automatically. Like it has some kind of spreadsheet where it pulls from the data and says this is how many points it is, and you have that into your calendar for each room. And that could probably be done, like you said, probably less than $100, to be honest. You just need to build a table for how many points and ages and how many can be in a classroom. And so I think that'd be easy to do that way. But in terms of you mentioned the patent, I couldn't use a patent on mine because the way that you have to specifically create something that's brand new in order for a patent to work. Mine was taking an existing mathematical formula and using it in a different field. Because there's the way my calculator is built, there's other industries that use very similar calculators, and it's just a function in Excel. It's not something that's like unique and no one else has done it before. I didn't write brand new code to do this, and so I could not get a patent because it was just me using math to figure something out in a more efficient way. And so I wonder if you're going to run into the same issue, because you're not, I would say maybe it's unique in that you're the only one who's creating a calendar based on the point system of the age value of kids in Idaho. Maybe that's what the patent is, but I'm still not sure. You have to talk to a patent attorney, and usually they'll talk to you for free just to see if your idea is viable and something that can be patentable. But they actually advised me not to patent it, because as soon as I did that, my code is available to the public. And it's not that I wrote the code. It's just that it's a unique way to use it. And once I make it public, other people can rip it off. And so you want to protect your idea of exactly how you did it. But I mean, that's kind of difficult for yours because it's pretty simple. It's, we're making a calendar, and everyone does this manually already in Idaho. It's just a way to do it more efficiently. And in terms of using it to sell to those 4 companies, what I would do is, it's called white labeling. And so basically you make your application or website or whatever it is and have no logos on it whatsoever. It looks like a Word document, but you have a box on the top that has the ability to import a logo from someone else, or however you want to do that. So you make it so that they can upload their branding to it, and it'll be a widget or some kind of code that you can transport from one website to another. But I would say I've had that same idea because like I know my product is useful. I know it would save people, millions of dollars if I could get it into enough people's hands. But these big companies, it's a big risk for them to buy technologies from other places. And it's also very expensive because like I'm not going to sell this thing for $30,000. I'm going to sell it for 15 million because I know like if I get it to the right people, it's worth that. And so if I sell it to a big giant company, I have to charge big giant bucks because that's what it's worth. If I say, hey, I got a great idea, I want to sell it to you for 20 grand. Yes, I'll probably take that all day long. But I know I just missed a huge opportunity. So I would say it's going to be very difficult to get paired up with those other companies unless you have some kind of SaaS, software as a service subscription for them. Say, hey, I'll sell it to you, and you just have to import this widget into your website or your tool, and it'll work for you that way. But that's a lot of front level work because they're not going to want to, do any of the coding. They basically want to say, give me the code and put it in. It better work the first time. And if it doesn't, then they're kind of out. And so just building my like website the way I have it, and he just built a calculator, not even the rest of the website, none of the branding or any of that stuff. It was about like $10,000, and I felt like I got a pretty good deal because it was like a friend of a friend type thing, and he just does this on the side. He has a main job on top of this. So I've talked to other companies that said, yeah, we'll build the whole thing A to Z, start to finish, and it was like 30 grand. And it's like, but I already have the code for the calculators. Yeah, but our guys have to run through the whole thing again. So it's like, it's 30 grand to build a very simple software website. And so if you want to spend 30 grand, but you can do that. But I think for you, the best option is exactly what you're doing. Build a Google spreadsheet so you can get more efficient. And then if you can find a way to, implement it into something that can be transferred to other people or like software, or maybe even just sell the spreadsheet, you could do that. But I would say don't try and go directly to these companies and sell it to them unless you just want to make 4 phone calls and see if they're open to it. But I wouldn't put a lot of eggs in that basket unless you get a very favorable phone call your first try.
Makes sense.
Cover everything.
Interesting.
What else?
Yeah. So you've reached out to like bigger mortgage firms and just mentioned your product and what it does, and they're and basically if they're interested, they just schedule a Zoom call with you or something to talk more about it. Is that kind of been your approach?
Yeah, so there's another tool that I use pretty much every day. It's a mortgage comparison tool. And so it'll say, okay, do you want option A or option B? And that's what they're really good at. And they'll a lot of different ways to look at the information, a lot of different ways to manipulate it and show it to your clients. And it looks very nice. And they have an affordability tool. And it's just like what I told you before. It's very shitty. You manually input the rate, and it doesn't really calculate everything dynamically. It's just kind of like spits out a number, and it's only for conventional loans. And so I told them, like, I wrote like a 3-paragraph email because it was to their product team, not to their IT help desk. And I said, hey, this is what it is. I recorded a video for them and said, I think this would be a huge addition to your product suite and your calculators. We should partner up and do something. And I was going to ask them for something like, I don't know, 10 cents every time somebody clicks on the submit button on my calculator, something like that.
Yeah.
And see how fast it grows and how many people end up using it. But they said they wouldn't even open the link because it was too much of a liability in case they ended up developing something similar to it a few years down the road. And so they have never done any kind of partnerships. They weren't interested in doing any kind of partnerships, and they were so scared of me maybe suing them, they wouldn't even click on the link.
Wow. But how do they prove they didn't click on the link? They probably clicked on the link and are like, cool, let's implement it. Let's figure out how to implement this, right?
Yeah, I mean, they haven't done it yet, and that was probably a year ago that I had sent them that link. So, but we'll see.
Oh, you can see who clicks on your link?
Well, no, actually, I sent them a Loom video, so I could have seen if somebody clicked on it and watched the video, which they didn't.
I see.
but their head of product support called me and just to tell me like, hey, this your thanks for the email. It sounds cool, but I can't do this. Like,
Wow, interesting. Have you tried other companies?
yeah. So I mean, I think the next large company I'm going to try is going to be like a mortgage company, um, like a United Wholesale Mortgage, where they're nothing but a wholesaler and they offer a bunch of tools to brokers. And they have a bunch of weird stuff that's like on their website. It's like supposedly going to help me with my business, but they don't have anything like this. And I think it could be something that's really cool to offer to brokers. And their goal for having these tools on their website is just to get brokers to click on their website more often. Because the more time that they spend on that website, the more likely they are to send a loan to that person, that lender. And so it's really just, if they're in here, they're going to use us. And so I think this would be a good idea to do that, but I haven't reached out to them just yet for that.
Got it. Oh, cool, man. Well, yeah. So you recommend either, yeah, like an arm's length relationship, like a brother or a friend, and to help create it, and then or on Fiverr, it might be like $100.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I could probably do this. If you know Excel, if you know how to do like VLOOKUPs or XLOOKUPs, you could probably get this done. Yeah. I mean, you could learn it in 20 minutes if you tried, I promise you. Uh, but it's much easier like if you don't have to keep looking at the reference deck, like what's the next function I have to put in. So I mean, it could easily be done. I really think you could get it done for less than $100, but it just depends on what you're really trying to build. I would try and scope out exactly what you want, because one thing I've had an issue with developers is like, you might kind of understand this from having a construction background. If you just go out and tell somebody, hey, go build me a bathroom, they're
Right.
gonna come back and be like, what? So
It's not
you
going to
have to,
look like you want it to. Yeah.
right. Or it might not even, oh, I thought you meant just a half bath, not a full bath. If you
Yep.
wanted a full bath, the tub was extra.
Yeah.
Oh, you wanted the water to work? I need a plumber for that. That's another 10 grand. Sorry. Like that's the kind of detail that you have to get into with like developers, and you're telling them this stuff. Like, okay, I need to be able to do X, Y, and Z. It needs to spit out X, Y, and Z and look like this. And that's the type of thing. I created like a 30-page document for my coder because he just couldn't put it all together. In his mind, I would tell him like, hey, this is what it is, and even show him the sheet that I built that did it, but he just couldn't take that and like use his own creativity in his mind, because not everybody has a creative button, especially these people who do a lot of manual tasks, like they just crush tasks. That's all they do. They don't think about, is this look how it's supposed to look. It's
Mhm.
like you tell them to make 2 + 2 = 4 and they do it. They don't go back and see what type of cell you did it from, what the input looks like. So you have to kind of go through that granular data to make sure that it all looks the way that you want it to look. And the more examples you can give them, the better. But that, I would say you need to get really detailed on what you want so that it comes out the first time close to what you want. And it's probably still going to take 3 or 4 times.
Yeah. Okay. So I could even like build an Excel sheet myself that like shows the layout and shows like maybe even some descriptions on each kind of sheet and page, I mean, or whatever, each tab, and like what it should kind of look like, and describe it in there. Even that might even help the guy who makes it.
Yeah, maybe even start with the one that's done on paper, like the one that
Hmm.
you're currently using, and then try and transpose that onto a website or an Excel sheet, something like that.
Got it. Okay. Cool. Well, yeah, man.
Yeah,
I'm
you're frozen.
Oh, really? No, I hear you fine. Well, cool.
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna kind of put that together and write it out and just make the description and go from there. But yeah, this tool is definitely something that we need to get done ASAP, because it's those $150 a week mistakes are going to become 250, going to become 400, as we have 12 teachers a day, more or less, on site. So
Right. I mean, yeah, you need to get this done right away if it's going to save you recurring revenue every single week. You need it done yesterday. Yeah.
yep, yep. Not to mention the time that the director is doing it instead of other higher level tasks. So
Right. Yep. Okay. Well, good luck with that. happy to help out
Thanks, man.
when you want to dive into it.
Yeah, maybe we should sidebar about that.
Yeah.
I'll put together some legwork first and shoot it over to you and see what you think.
All right.
Well, good deal, man. What else did you want to talk about today?
I don't think I have anything. I'm gonna have some updates, major updates on the bathroom next week. So we're
Oh,
gonna go through
nice.
all that.
Cool. And yeah, I'm going out of town the rest of the week this week. I'm going to Indiana, so I'll have some stories to share, I'm sure, and some updates for your mom on my family that
Yeah.
she'll get to see here.
Cool. All right, man. Well, I think that's good for today. Thanks for watching, Mom.
Yeah, thanks, Ms. T.
Bye.
Bye.